Okay, Year 10. We're now going to look at solving simultaneous equations using substitution. Now, in the textbook, they do substitution first. For linear equations, that is not my preferred method. I prefer elimination. However, sometimes substitution lends itself to an easier approach. What I want to first look at, though, is here again, and I wanted to reiterate this so we know what we're doing. When we're solving linear equations, we will either get, one solution where the two lines intersect, or we will get no solutions where the two lines are parallel. Or there may be a third case, and I did this in the previous one, where you have two equations that are in fact the same, the same equation. They're just written in a different form. And in that case, you'll get an infinite amount of solutions. So one solution, no solutions, or an infinite amount of solutions, really, if they're the same line. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to go through the methods that I've written down. So if we go back here and look at these steps, to solve simultaneous equations via substitution, look at the success criteria. I can write down the two equations. That's pretty easy. I can rewrite one equation with one variable as the subject, and that's the most important bit. Once you're there, it's pretty easy. I can substitute this equation into the second equation. I can solve the resultant equation, and I can substitute the solution to one of the first equations to find the second variable. Finally, I can substitute the two variables into the equation that was not used to check my answer. So let's go and have a go at one of these. So I've asked you to do exercise 5A, I, questions 4A, C, and 5A. So I'm going to go down here, and here they are. I said do 4A and C. So I'm going to do 4B and D. And you can apply that to 4A and C, and the solutions to 4A and C are on the website. So success criteria number one says I can write down the two equations. So I'm going to go, here we go, 4B. Y equals negative 2x minus 3. And y equals negative x minus 4. So I'm going to call this equation number one. I'm going to call this equation number two. Step number two. So I've achieved success. I've done the first part of my success criteria. Success criteria number two. I can rewrite one equation with one variable as a subject of the equation. Well, I'm very lucky because both these equations have y as a subject. When we say an equation has something is a subject to the equation, it just means it's on its own. So the area equals length times breadth is an equation, and the subject of the equation is A. Circumference equals pi d. Well, the subject of this equation is C. It's the pronumeral on its own. So when we say write something with a variable as a subject, it just means you need a letter on its own. And in this case, both equation 1 and 2 already have y as a subject. So now I'm going to substitute 1 into 2. So what am I doing? I'm going to put this wherever there is a y. I'm going to sub that into the place where the y is, and I'll get a new equation. So I get minus 2x minus 3 equals minus x minus 4. And now all I have to do is solve this equation. Well, that's pretty easy. I'll add the 2x minus 3 And if I add the 2x over, I'll get to 1x minus 4. And then I'll add the 4. Oops, sorry. Add the 4, I'm going to get 1 equals x. So I added the 2x to both sides, and I added the 4. So now I've got x equals 1, and I've achieved success, because success criteria number 3 says I can substitute this equation into the second equation, and I can solve the resultant equation. So I've gone all the way up to success criteria number 4 now. Success criteria number 5 says I can substitute the solution, which is this, into one of the first equations. It doesn't matter which one I choose, but I always try and choose an easier one to find the second variable. So I'm going to sub this. I'm going to sub x equals 1 into equation number 2. Now if I do that, it's y equals, I'm just going to put a 1 where the x is, minus 1 minus 4. Minus 1 minus 4 is negative 5. Now, because these are actually Cartesian coordinates, I'm going to write that as a point. Here's my solution. X is 1, y is negative 5. Now, the problem is I could have made a mistake. So success criteria number 6 says I can substitute the two variables into the equation that was not used to check my answer. Well, I just used equation number 2, so I'm going to check in equation number 1. So if I check in equation number 1, y equals minus 2x minus 3, y equals minus, so y equals minus 2x minus 3. And I go, all right, well, y is negative 5. Does that equal negative 2 times 1 minus 3? Minus 2 minus 3 is negative 5. It checks out. So my answer is correct. So that's for B. I said I'd do the other one, so I'm going to do for D. And I'm just going to follow the same success criteria. My equations here, x equals minus 7 minus 1, negative 7 minus 1, 7y minus 1, and x equals negative y plus 11. X equals negative y plus 11. Okay, so I've achieved success criteria number 1. I've written down the two equations. I labelled them, equation 1 and equation 2, and please write them above each other. Success criteria, or the next one, make 1 the subject of the equation. Well, x is already written as the subject of the equation, so I'm just jumping to success criteria. I'm just going to the next step. I'm going to sub 1 into 2. So I'm just going to put this there. So I get negative 7y minus 1 equals negative y plus 1. Add the 7y, negative 1 equals 6y plus 1. Please make sure you understand that when I add 7y to here, I get 6y. Anyway, I'll minus the 1, and I'm a bit worried now because I'm going to get a fractional answer. So I get minus 2. Did I write down the equations correctly? That's an 11. There we go. That's why. So I subtract the 11. I subtract the 11 now, and I get minus 12 equals 6y. And I divide it by the 6, and I get negative 2 equals y. It makes me feel a little happier, but I'll find out if I've got it right when I get to the end. So now I have to sub this into one of the equations up above. And I'm going to sub it into equation number 2. So sub into 2. The reason I'm doing that is just an easier equation to sub it into because I don't have to do anything to the y. So I get x equals negative 2 because y is negative 2 plus 11. So x equals 2 plus 11, which equals 13. So now I've got to check. So I've got to check in 1. And what was equation number 1? X equals negative 7y minus 1. X equals negative 7y minus 1 plus 1 minus 1. Now, does 13 equal negative 7 times negative 2 minus 1? Well, negative 7 times negative 2 is 14 minus 1 is 13. It checks out. So my solution is 13 because it's a set of coordinates, 13 and negative 2. So they've been fairly easy. But now I want to do one where they're not written as a subject. So I want to do one, oh, well, no, I'll do 5b. I'll do 5b. You only have to do 5a, I'm going to do 5b. Y equals x plus 3. So here's 5b. Y equals x plus 3. And 6x plus y equals 17. 6x plus y equals 17. Equation number 1, equation number 2. Right, I have to get 1 as a subject. Well, look here. Y is the subject of that equation, so I can just substitute that x plus 3 in there. Now, I didn't tell you to do this earlier, but you should, when you do your substitution, well, I better write down what I'm doing, sub 1 into 2. When I do this now, I'm going to get 6. I should, and I'm going to use a different colour here so you can see. There's my substitution. Oh, silly me. Doesn't go in there. Come on, give me my eraser. It goes in here. Oh, I erased it out now. Going crazy. It goes in here. That's where my y goes. So I get 6x plus x plus 3 equals 17. 6x plus x plus 3 equals 17. 7x, subtract the 13, equals 14, divide by the 7, x equals 2. Sub this value, x equals 2, into equation number 1, because it's already written as y equals. And y equals 2 plus 3 equals 5. So I've got a solution, 2 and 5. I need to check that in equation number 2. Check in 2. Okay, equation number 2, 6x plus y equals 17. 6x plus y equals 17. 6 times 2 plus 5 equals 12 plus 5 equals 17. It checks out. My answer is correct. Now, these are all relatively easy because they're written as a subject. So what I want to do now is I want to go on to 5H, question 6. Because these aren't written as a subject. Now, I ask you in yours to do 6b and e. I'm going to do 6a, and I will do 6e for you, but I want you to have a go at it first. So here we go. 6b. What have I got? Oh, sorry, 6a I want to do. 3x plus 2y equals 6. And 5x plus 3y equals 11. Now, straight away, if I were doing this, I would not use substitution. I would use elimination, and I'd eliminate possibly the y's, multiplying one by 3 and the other by 2. but I told you to use substitution. So I am now going to rearrange equation number 1. And I'm going to make y the subject. So 3x plus 2y equals 6. I'm going to minus the 3x. 2y equals 6 minus 3x. And then I'm going to write y equals 6 minus 3x all over 2. And I recommend that you do it that way. Now I have to substitute that into there. But I'm going to call this equation number 3 because I want whoever is marking my work to really understand what I'm doing. So I'm going to sub 3 into 2. If I made the mistake and I substituted 3 into 1, I'd end up showing that 0 equals 0, which doesn't really solve anything. Anyway, so here we go. 5x plus 3, I'm going to put this in colour and in brackets, 6 minus 3x over 2, because that's where the y goes, equals 11. Now straight away, the first thing that's worrying me is this 2. I want to get rid of this 2 on the bottom. So what I'm going to do is this is an equation. So if I do something to everything in the equation on both sides, it's okay. It stays as the equation. So I'm going to multiply that by 2, I'm going to multiply that by 2, and I'm going to multiply that by 2. And watch what happens. 5x times 2, 10x. Here, the 2's will cancel. So I've got 3 parentheses, 6 minus 3x. And 2 times 11 is 22. And all of a sudden, my fraction's gone, and all I've got to do is expand this bit here. So 10x plus 18 minus 9x equals 22. X plus 18 equals 22. X equals 4. Now I've got a choice. I have 3 equations to sub this into. And the easiest one is equation number 3. But please remember, equation number 3 is just a rearranged version of equation number 1. So here we go. Sub into 3. And that's y equals 6 minus 3 times 4 over 2, which is 6 minus 12 over 2, which is negative 6 over 2, which is negative 3. So I'm hoping my solution is 4 and negative 3, but I need to check it. Now, if I sub it into 3, I can't sub it into 3 because that's where I got it from. But I also can't sub it into 1 because 3 is just a version of equation number 1. So for me to check properly, I have to substitute it into equation number 2. So 5x plus 3y. So 5x plus 3y equals 11. So 5 times 4 plus 3 times negative 3. Well, 5 times 4 is 20. 3 times negative 3 is negative 9. 20 plus negative 9 is 11. It checks out. So that was a bit harder. Now, I did say I would do 6e. I'm running out of time, but I'll try and do it very quickly here. Sorry, 5e. 6e, 6e. So what are these equations? Minus 2x minus, oh no, I don't want to do, that can't be, oh, minus 2y minus 4x. I'm just double checking that that is the right question that we have to do. 6e, righto. So I'm going to go through this really quickly. 6e. Minus 2y minus 4x equals 0. minus 2y minus 4x equals 0. And 3y plus 2x equals minus 2. 3y plus 2x equals negative 2. Double check that. Yep. So here we go. Equation number 1. Equation number 2. I'm going to rearrange equation 1. I'm going to write that. I'm going to take that 2y over the other side. So minus 4x equals 2y. I'm going to divide by the 2. Negative 2x equals y. I'm going to call this equation number 3. I'm going to substitute sub 3 into equation number 2. So I'm going to put this, in there. And I'll use colour. So I get 3y plus 2. And I'm going to put this in brackets, and this is a minus 2x equals negative 2. So I've substituted that incorrectly. I'm not going to put it there. I'm going to put it there. Right. So 3. Now I use my colour. Come on. Minus 2x plus 2x equals negative 2. That's negative 6x plus 2x equals negative 2. Negative 4x equals negative 2. X equals negative 2 over 4, which equals a half. I'm a bit worried now because I've got a fractional answer, but we'll see how we go. Now, what do I do now? I'm going to sub that. Now, I can't sub it into 3, and because I got 3 from 1, I can't sub it into... Oh no, I can't sub it into 2, so I'm going to sub it into equation number 3. Sub into equation number 3, and I'll get y equals minus 2 times a half equals negative 1. Righto, so here's my set of coordinates. I've got a half and negative 1. I got it from 3. 3 is a version of 1, so I've got to check it in 2. So check in 2. And equation number 2 is 3y plus 2x equals negative 2. 3y plus 2x equals negative 2. Well, 3 times negative 1 plus 2 times a half. Well, 3 times negative 1 is negative 3. 2 times a half is 1. Negative 3 plus 1 is negative 2. It checks out. All right. Solving simultaneous equations by substitution. Remember, follow the success criteria, the 6 steps, and you should be okay. Good luck.